Welcome back, Giants fans. Today we are going to be talking about the trenches. That's right, Dave Gettleman's favorite position, the hog mollies, the offensive line. And going into next year, as of today, the Giants only have two starters on their offensive line. That is, of course, Nate Solder and Will Hernandez. Nate Solder, of course, the Giants signed to a mega contract last year to play left tackle. He didn't perform that well, specifically in the first 8 games. I think he surrendered 8 sacks. But over his last 8 games after the bye, he only surrendered 1 sack. He showed much improvement. And Will Hernandez, the second-round pick, got better as the season went along, and I expect him to improve going into next season. But you have to ask yourself, where do we go with the other 3 positions? Where do we go with the center, the guard, the tackle? And in this video, I am going to get into that. Since 2012, the Giants' offensive line has been a complete disgrace, and it is the main reason why Jerry Reese finds himself unemployed, and it's why he has failed. Eli Manning, a big reason for his struggles from the year 2012 to present day, has been the complete and utter neglect of the offensive line. This team couldn't get anything going. They couldn't pass protect. They couldn't run block. They didn't have an 800-yard rusher since the 2014 season before Barkley came to town this year. And last year, Dave Gettleman spent more money on Nate Solder than Jerry Reese spent on all of his offensive linemen from year 2012 to 2018 combined in the free agency market. His biggest free agency signing was Jeff Schwartz, and that was a complete and utter failure. He had no success in the free agent market, and he had no success in the draft. His 3 notable high picks on the offensive line were Eric Flowers, who was the worst offensive lineman in the sport over the course of his tenure with the New York Giants. He also had Richburg, who was and Justin Pugh was a reach. No reason to take him as high as they did. So he failed, and he passed up tons of them in the draft. He passed up Tunsil, and he passed up Zach Martin. Now, of course, they drafted Odell Beckham. You can't really complain about that. But many can argue Zach Martin would have been more important to this team. That guy's an all-pro offensive lineman. And Gettleman certainly changed the mindset of this team last year when he went out and he signed Nate Solder to be the highest-paid left tackle in the sport. He spent a high second-round pick on Hernandez. He addressed the running game with Saquon Barkley. He's getting back to the Giants' roots. He's getting back to the ground and pound. He's getting back to the hog mollies. And as a Giants fan, I couldn't be more excited because that is how you win football games. So let's get into it. Who can the Giants pick up this year in free agency, and how are they going to do it? Of course, Dave Gettleman could address some of these needs in the draft. The Giants clearly have some needs on the offensive line, and I think Dave will at least draft some depth for the offensive line in rounds 4 to 7. They have 9 picks, rounds 4 to 7. He's definitely going to spend a few on the offensive line, in my opinion, but I don't think he's going to spend it in the first round. They have the 6th overall pick, and the only guy, in my opinion, that they could potentially take there is Darryl Williams, and I don't think they will. I really don't. I think the Giants are either going to go quarterback or pass rusher with that first 6th overall selection. Second round, they definitely could take an offensive lineman. We'll see what they do with that. But I do think they are going to allocate a lot of the money that they have in free agency to the offensive line. I have them estimated to have around $30 to $35 million to spend. I expect close to half of that to be spent on the offensive line. So, as I said earlier, they have needs at center, right guard, and right tackle. Left tackle traditionally is the most expensive spot. They spent that last year. The highest paid right tackle right now is Lane Johnson. He makes a little over $11 million a year. And over the years, center and guard have started to make more money. It's almost on par with what a right tackle makes. So if you're going to get a big name free agent at any one of these positions, they're all going to cost in the $10 to $12 million range. All right, let's start with the man in the middle, the center position. Let's go over all the potential candidates for the Giants. You got Travis Swanson, who's been a mediocre center over the course of his career. He actually spent some time with the Jets. He would be a cost-effective move, but I don't expect it. You've got Ryan Khalil, who's been one of the best centers in the sport over his career. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, but my problem with him is he's up there in age. I think he's 34 years old, and I wouldn't want to sign him to a big contract. I don't think he's worth it. And the biggest name on the market is Matt Paradis. Matt Paradis has been phenomenal. He's been the 4th highest graded center in the entire NFL since 2015. He's still young. He's graded as high as 77 by PFF in both pass and run blocking last year. And he's phenomenal. I mean, he might be the best center in football when you factor in age. But he is going to cost a ton. He's going to cost you probably at least $10 or $11 million at the center position. Where I think the Giants are actually going to go here is John Halapio. John Halapio, of course, last year the Giants had on a cost-effective deal, and he came into the year as the starting center as he won it in training camp. And he was on a cost-effective deal. It was only about $550,000, and he's an exclusive rights free agent. He played great in training camp. He played great up till week 2 in the regular season before, of course, he had a season-ending injury. But Gettleman was on record as saying he was the best offensive lineman on the team over the first 2 weeks. I think Gettleman likes him. I think you're going to be able to bring him back for about $1 million. So I think he will be the Giants starting center, and I think they're going to go with more of a cost-effective move at this position. Of course, I think they may add some depth at the position through the draft. But going into next year, I would be surprised if Jalapeno is not the Giants starting center. We will now move on to the right guard. When it came to the right guard, I only wrote down one name. Because like I said, the Giants don't have a ton of money to spend. They're going to have to pick one position, and I think that position is going to be right tackle. When it comes to the right guard, I expect Jamon Brown to be back. The Giants acquired him in waivers last year, and he performed beautifully. He was a big reason why that offensive line did as well as it did. Now, a lot of people said that he gave up a lot of sacks, but you can't deny it. The running game was night and day. The pass protection was better. Jamon Brown is going to be back, in my opinion, for between $3 to $5 million. I expect him to be your starting right guard. Which finally brings me to the right tackle position. This is the position where I think the Giants are going to spend the majority of their free agency money this year. Last year, of course, they addressed the left tackle. The right tackle needs to be addressed now. Now, like I said, they could take Jonah Williams with the 6th overall selection, but I don't expect that. I really don't. And that, to me, him or Greg Little are the only 2 guys in this year's draft that are going to make an immediate impact at that position. And that position needs to be addressed. And Dave Gettleman, the king of the hog mollies, you know he's going to address it. And I think he's going to do it in free agency. And I came up with a few names where I think the Giants can go. I'll start with Jordan Mills. He would be more of a cost-effective move. He's not one of these high-profile free agents, but he's been consistent over the course of his career. He's been a starter, and he's played every game for the Buffalo Bills over the last 5 years. He's a former 7th-round pick, and he's one of only 7 tackles to take over 1,000 snaps over the last 3 seasons. So he stays healthy, but he's never had a grade on PFF higher than 63. So at this point in his career, he's probably more of a depth lineman. I don't view him as a difference maker at the right tackle position, and because I think Gettleman's going for a difference maker at this position, I think he's out of the question. The next guy I have on my list is Trent Brown. He's a former 7th-round pick by the San Francisco 49ers, whose natural position is right tackle. He was acquired this year via trade by the New England Patriots, and they've shifted him to left tackle, and he's played beautifully. Now, I will say, Bill Belichick always seems to get the most out of his players, so I don't know if he's this all-world player, but he has played great specifically in this year's playoffs. He has a grade of over 80. He's been the best tackle in the playoffs per PFF. But my guess is the Patriots bring him back. But if he were to become available, he would certainly be a viable option for the New York Giants. One guy I wanted to throw in that I thought was a potential target for the New York Giants before the Bears have announced that they're going to be bringing him back on a 4-year deal is Bobby Massey. Massey would have brought leadership. He's 30 years old, but very talented. I thought he would have been a perfect fit, but unfortunately, it looks like he's going back with the Bears. But the next guy I have up on my list is Juwan James. Juwan James, most people feel, is going to make the most money this year at the right tackle position in free agency, and he's very talented. He's a former 1st-round pick. He was picked 19th overall by the Miami Dolphins. But the one thing that scares me with him, the one thing I don't like, he's only played 1 full season in the pros. He has a ton of injuries. The only year he played 16 games was 2016. And I don't trust that. And he is not the guy I would target. I would not give him megabucks. And then finally, the last man on my list, Darryl Williams. Darryl Williams, I think, is going to be the Giants' next right tackle, and he should be. I love this kid. He's a perfect fit. Dave Gettleman drafted this kid back in 2015 in the 4th round when he, of course, was the general manager for the Carolina Panthers. So you know Gettleman likes him. And he has progressed over the course of his career. This year, unfortunately, he did get hurt, which is going to hurt his free agency value, but the Giants may be able to get him between $8 and $10 million, and he's very well-rounded. In 2017, he was ranked in the top 10 in both run and pass blocking among right tackles, and he was the 3rd highest graded right tackle, period. I love this kid. He's very well-rounded. Gettleman likes him, and I think he would fit here perfectly. I think the Giants are going to target him. I think they should, and I fully expect him to be a New York Giant. So there's my take on it. This year in free agency, I expect the Giants to go Jalapeno at center. I expect them to bring Brown back at the guard. And I expect them to bring in Darryl Williams at the tackle. If you combine all that, it's about $15 million, $13 to $15 million you're probably looking at. And that will address the rest of the offensive line. And then, of course, they're going to go into the draft and they're going to add some depth. So that's my take on it. I think that is where the Giants will go in the offensive line. If you liked what you watched, please hit that thumbs up, drop a comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, cheers.